What if I told you the most powerful force in economic development in the Middle East isn't oil? It's not military might, it's not royal fortune. It is policy, it is ports, it's infrastructure so well built and deemed so efficient that Fortune 500 companies aren't even ignoring it, they're inviting themselves to it. And while most nations in the Gulf depend on drilling deeper, the UAE has dug smarter. Hello, everyone. My name is Benjamin Epstein, and I am an economist. Today, I want to reveal how a federation of just 7 emirates have transformed the Middle East with their sand into strategy platform, and how building mega projects that have reshaped global trade routes in real time has propelled itself to becoming an influential member in the region. And here's the twist. The UAE is now exporting this blueprint to help other emerging nations like Algeria, that we'll talk about how they will improve themselves in the future. This really is proving something that cooperation is better for development than competition. And when we talk about collaboration and sharing success, we need to understand what separates the UAE from all the other economic powerhouses. They're not just hoarding their success formula, they're actively sharing it. Let's take Algeria, for example. They were recently added to the New Development Bank as a partner, and they are a nation that has been trapped with the same challenges that the UAE has once feared itself being into. Algeria's economy heavily depends on hydrocarbons, about 30% of its GDP, 65% of its budget revenues, and 95% of its foreign currency receipts. Now, that's where the UAE really was decades ago, but there's differences in their trajectory. Algeria also faces major hurdles. Its closed economy, its major developments to foreign investment, and its stifling bureaucracy has made it incredibly hard for them to attract businesses and develop internally. The UAE has actually recognized something powerful, though, however. Helping Algeria succeed is not going to diminish their own success. Rather, it's going to invite deeper collaboration and more development for each other. This will create new trade partners, stronger regional networks, and it will show that the model is proven not just beyond its own borders. Rather, it's a blueprint that other emerging nations can use for their own development. This economic diplomacy really is a masterclass, and they have been able to use their location and use policies to encourage investment to propel itself as a regional trading hub in the region. Let's focus first on its geography, where it's located. If you use it right, the UAE has sat on a 2,000-year-old superhighway of maritime trade. It's stuck strategically between the Gulf of Oman and the Persian Gulf right here, and it's been an ideal transport point from the east to the west. But the important thing is that it's not just about the location. Algeria is in a very popular location in the Mediterranean Sea, but they have not acted upon it. The UAE has completely leaned into maximizing how to use this trade network for their own development and attracting business there. They have completely used the policy and investment, while Algeria, with similar advantages, has not done so. Let's go more into the strategic policy building that the UAE has had. So when you know that you need to rely on these historically powerful trade networks, for one thing, you need to have the infrastructure to hold the capacity to do so. So where the UAE has played this ultimate long game is the infrastructure investment. It has been a massive priority for them in foundational infrastructure, and we are really seeing it bear fruit now with their recent trade deals and their huge increases in foreign trade and economic growth. Let's talk about the Jebel Airport in Dubai. The development of this port began in 1979 and has had $7.6 billion worth of investment. But now that vision has truly paid off. It handles more cargo now than Rotterdam and New York combined. And it processes 25 million containers annually. But this isn't merely about they're in the right place. This isn't about luck. This is about the sustained long-term thinking and the investment that the UAE put in the 1980s that they are able to finally realize now. And while this port is the most popular, it certainly isn't the only one used. Khalifa Port here has received a $1.3 billion expansion in 2023 that is going to try to add a fully automated carrier system, which will be really interesting to see what happens there. But Etihad Rail, an $11 billion national railway system from the UAE, has connected the entire country and has made the supply chains that much more robust and resilient. The road networks are have consumed $12 billion since 2010. And when we see the airlines that have created this world-class level of connectivity to other major economic zones globally, the railroads and the ports have also helped connect their country domestically, but as well as connecting their economy with other nations trying to utilize this trade network. Now, creating the infrastructure is one thing, but it isn't the only thing. Just because you have the infrastructure doesn't mean you have the means of inviting businesses to invest in the UAE. So this is where their secret weapon has come in. They're free trade zones. So what are free trade zones? They're not just tax havens. They're actually complete business ecosystems that are designed to eliminate friction, making it easier for people to move their goods and transact with each other without issue. The UAE currently operates 43 specialized free trade zones across the country. And when you see in the map, they're mainly in the port areas, but each opportunity and these incentives are designed like for like less taxes, allowing 100% foreign ownership, 100% import and export tax exemptions. It's all to attract foreign businesses and foreign investments. And with corporate taxes often being exempted too, they're doing everything they can to invite the businesses into the UAE so they can really utilize the lack of friction and the business-friendly environment the country has poised and positioned themselves to be in. And we've already seen how these zones have really taken fruit here. The Jebel Ali Free Zone is the most important right now. It accounts for over 25% of Dubai's GDP, which is insane. It has over 8,500 countries like Nestle and Honda utilizing this zone because they know that with a zone that connects 3.5 billion people in such a popular trading spot, they know that they can really take advantage of the free trade zone that they have to offer. And it allows the UAE to get more investment from these companies worldwide. This kind of attraction and investment, liberalizing the trade zones and creating frictionless activity between businesses, is something Algeria desperately needs to do to attract foreign businesses and reduce red tape. Now, when we talked about oil before, I made it a point to say they aren't relying on oil. And this aggressive diversification is not only the UAE's most crucial strategy, it's necessary for their survival. Even if oil stopped flowing tomorrow, the UAE would still be able to thrive. This, however, contrasts sharply with Algeria, where hydrocarbons still dominate its economic activity, which make it that much more vulnerable to commodity and oil-related shocks. Now, for the UAE in particular, we've seen how the robust infrastructure and the liberalizing of foreign investment have really created the capacity, the ability for the UAE to expand foreign trade with their partners. So let's talk about the first one in particular. They have recently signed an agreement with India that has, for non-oil exports, to increase over to $65 billion. India is already the biggest receiver of UAE exports, and the UAE focusing on non-oil exports specifically will allow them to diversify their economy further. Now, they're not the only ones benefiting from the UAE's expansion, however. The UAE and China have recently agreed on massive liquid natural gas supply shipments to China, as well as trade with Russia jumping over 63% in deals that are bypassing the US dollar, deals that are in their own national currency, that allow for their own domestic investment with each other. All of this trade news, all of this wheeling and dealing is showing that the UAE has created a country 20 times smaller than Iran, but has no limits of expansion because of the seamless connectivity and the environment that the UAE has provided businesses and their citizens. And best of all, The country is so small, it's the blueprint that they're allowed, that they can share with countries like Algeria to reach the potential that the UAE has been able to have. And when we talk about BRICS as an institution, the UAE can share the technology transfer opportunities, add more joint venture models into renewable energy, focusing on sustainable growth and diversifying their energy exports that will allow Algeria to position themselves better in the future. Now, for the UAE, it's not just about how the government is interacting with their businesses. It's also how the environment has made it so easy for them. The bureaucracy has been made much more efficient, unlike Algeria in this case. Regulations have really supported the growth in the UAE, while as in Algeria, it has only seemed to hinder it. So when we talk about how the UAE can help and how they're positioning and how they have strengthened themselves in logistics and connectivity and technology and diversification, it'll help save Algeria's biggest challenges: the high business costs and investment, the overregulation, and the bureaucratic delays that have made their economy much less dynamic and inviting for firms to develop there. Now, what does UAE's growth mean for the global economy? It shows that cooperation is the means to success. It's not about competing. Success is not a zero-sum game here. When nations are sharing the strategy instead of hoarding why they are successful, they don't just build their own individual prosperity. They build their own, the nations they're developing, as well as the development that they will all get together. The sum of those parts is bigger than any zero-sum game anyone can even fathom. The benefits for cooperation are that just more important. And by sharing their expertise through BRICS or through any joint venture, their expertise in free trade zones, how they've developed their infrastructure, and their strategies for diversification, it will create a stronger regional economy. And with the UAE gains a strategic partner and an expanded trade network for Algeria to work with more. They can both continue to reduce their vulnerability on oil. They can both expand their economic diplomacy, working with other nations in the global south, and show how their blueprint is not about size or region. It can be applied in emerging economies all over the world. And it'll allow them to outmaneuver more powerful countries that wish to subvert their opinion because they don't agree with it. The UAE's geography sure is a massive geographic advantage, and utilizing their infrastructure was very sound. But we can see that the business-friendly policies attract global capital better than Algeria or any other natural resources really can ever offer. As global trade patterns shift and as new blocks emerge, this collaborative approach is going to position these nations for sustained growth. The UAE just did not build a $500 billion economy overnight. It was something that was craftily designed, keeping their position in mind, understanding why they needed to rely less on their resources, how they can build something that involves infrastructure and investment, create a business-friendly atmosphere, diversifying themselves further, and collaborating strategically with other nations so they can create more ventures and benefit themselves in the future. In tomorrow's economy, it's not just about the resources you control, it's about the partnerships you build and the strategies you're willing to share. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you found the discussion fascinating, and please be sure to comment your thoughts in the comment section below. Please be sure to like the videos, subscribe to the channel, and stay up to date on all of our content that we'll be publishing. And until next time, I'm Benjamin Epstein.